This voice is artificial, but the ideas are real. Welcome to AI Podcast. Now, let's begin.
We've all been trained, by movies and TV to look for the monster in the shadows, the obvious criminal.
The violent threat.
Exactly. But what if the really destructive people in our society, they don't break those kinds of laws? They don't go to prison, they're just emotionally unburdened.
And that's the core idea of this whole deep dive, isn't it? The sources you've gathered here, from Harvard Neuroscience to deep criminological studies, they all point to this really unsettling conclusion.
Which is that the traits we've always associated with danger are now, in many cases, being rewarded.
Actively rewarded by the very systems we depend on.
So our mission today is to really get into why these psychopathic traits can lead to so much success, especially in corporate and political spheres. And maybe more importantly, why just being smart doesn't protect you from them.
Right. We're trying to build a kind of shortcut to understanding this calculated ruthlessness.
Okay, so to get there, we have to start by busting the big myth, the word psychopath. What do people get wrong?
Well, everyone immediately jumps to violence, to chaos, aggression. But clinically, that's not it at all. The definition is much colder. It's more functional.
So less about raw aggression and more about a kind of emotional wiring. What are the key traits then, according to the sources?
It really boils down to three things: shallow emotions, a profound sense of emotional detachment, and, this is the critical one, a lack of affective empathy.
Affective empathy. So what's the difference?
It's the difference between knowing what someone is feeling, which is cognitive empathy.
Which they can be great at.
Oh, excellent. They can read a room perfectly. But affective empathy is feeling what that other person is feeling. And that's the piece that's missing.
So they can understand your emotional state, but they have absolutely zero personal response to it.
Exactly. And that allows them to see other people as, well, as tools or resources or just obstacles in their way.
It's the ultimate advantage in a transactional world.
It is, because it doesn't automatically make you a criminal. It just removes the internal brakes, the guilt, the shame, the anxiety that slows the rest of us down. You take that away, and what's left is just pure, focused ambition.
And in our systems, that focus gets mistaken for genius.
That's it.
Okay, let's get into the hardware behind that focus. Section 1. The biology. The Harvard Medical School research you found is fascinating. It suggests a mechanical reason for this.
It does. The researchers frame it as a go-no-go problem. It's basically an imbalance. The go parts of the brain that mediate our impulses are sort of running wild.
And the no-go parts, the ones that are supposed to manage those impulses, are too weak to stop them.
Precisely. So when you or I feel an impulse to do something ruthless, our no-go system fires up. We feel guilt, we feel anxiety, and it slows us down. In a person with these traits, that internal brake is it's not there.
And the research points to a physical cause for this.
It seems so. They talk about diminished connectivity in these frontal and temporal limbic regions of the brain. These are the areas for moral decision-making, for emotional learning. Specifically, there's a white matter tract, a kind of information highway that connects the amygdala.
The fear and emotion center.
Right. It connects the amygdala to the orbitofrontal cortex, which is the decision-making and behavior regulation part. And that highway is, as they describe it, out of kilter.
So the alarm system isn't properly connected to the control room.
That's a perfect way to put it. The emotional signal, the remorse, the danger, it just doesn't get transmitted properly. So what's the result? Guilt doesn't slow you down. Anxiety doesn't interfere. You're physiologically unburdened.
And what's so wild is how we interpret that deficit from the outside. If you're in a boardroom and everyone else is hesitating, paralyzed by fear or some moral conflict, and you just act calmly and decisively.
You don't look broken. You look like a leader.
You look like the ideal CEO, cool under pressure.
Exactly. That lack of hesitation is seen as confidence, not a moral deficit. Which brings us right to Section 2, the systems themselves. If that's the hardware, how does our corporate software run on it?
Yeah, let's shift from the individual to the organization, because the sources are pretty clear that our institutions aren't just tolerating this behavior. They're actively building systems that select for it.
They absolutely are. Because think about what modern capitalism rewards: decisiveness, emotional neutrality, calculated risk-taking, persuasive confidence.
And what does it not reward?
Moral hesitation. emotional sensitivity, long soul-searching reflections on whether something is the right thing to do. In these systems, outcomes matter so much more than the inner experience.
And this is the world of the white-collar criminal, the WCCs. We're talking nonviolent financial crimes, fraud, Ponzi schemes. The scale is just, it's hard to even process. The sources estimate it costs the global economy over $5 trillion a year.
$5 trillion. It's a staggering number.
Yeah.
And yet, the people behind it, the WCCs, they defy the criminal stereotype completely. They're well-educated, high status, often with strong family and community ties.
You just have to think of Bernie Madoff, a pillar of his community, a celebrated philanthropist, right up until the moment it all came crashing down.
He's the textbook example. These are what the sources call corporate psychopaths, or psychopaths light. They use their charm and status, but they have no emotional barrier to exploiting people for personal gain.
And they can actually shape the culture of an entire company.
Oh, absolutely. They normalize unethical behavior just by their own example.
Yeah.
And the nature of their crimes helps. The sources call it the proximity problem.
All right, the distance from the victim.
It's critical. If you steal someone's wallet face-to-face, the emotional feedback is immediate. But when you're running a massive fraud, the victims are just numbers on a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
You never see them. That lack of intimacy just shrinks your ability to empathize. The whole system reinforces the detachment.
Which makes total sense. If you don't feel the consequences, there's no internal conflict to deal with. And that brings us to how they deal with any lingering sense of right and wrong, the mastery of justification.
Yes, the cognitive distortions. Criminologists talk about the fraud triangle pressure, opportunity, and rationalization. It's been updated to the fraud diamond, adding capability or personality.
And that capability is the psychopathic trait.
It is. And their most powerful tool is rationalization. They are masters at reframing unethical actions as being acceptable or even necessary.
I was really struck by the idea of narcissistic entitlement, this belief that the rules just don't apply to them. They operate under a superior code.
That's central to it. They genuinely believe they're too smart to get caught, which fuels the grandiosity of these schemes, and they do it through specific mental tricks.
Let's talk about those. How do these cognitive distortions work?
Okay, so a key one is minimization. This is huge. It's downplaying the gravity of what they did. They tell themselves it wasn't that bad or nobody really got hurt.
I was going to pay it back.
Exactly. It's a way of reducing that internal conflict so they can maintain their self-image as a good person, even while doing immense harm.
Which is how they maintain that double life. What's another one?
Blaming others. Shifting responsibility. My clients are just too greedy, or the system is rigged, I had to do it. The crime is never their fault. It's just a necessary reaction to some outside pressure.
Here's someone else's failure.
Right. And a third one, which is often tied to more impulsive acts, is all or nothing thinking. Seeing everything in black and white. There's no middle ground, so a drastic, reckless action becomes the only option in their mind. These shortcuts let them bypass that whole messy process of moral reflection.
So if they're this good at rationalizing and blending in, that leads us to Section 4. Why we miss it? Why doesn't our intelligence protect us?
This is the scary part. Intelligence is a poor defense because manipulation doesn't attack your logic. It attacks your trust. It attacks your politeness, your social norms.
We're wired to assume good faith.
We are. Especially for people who seem competent and successful. They don't overpower you. They blend in, they mirror your values, and exploit that basic human trust.
And the examples are terrifying. Dennis Rader, the BTK killer, he was a church president, a Boy Scout leader, a family man. He functioned for decades.
He was a master of the mask. Or Ted Bundy, charming, smart, well-liked. His own girlfriend reported him, and at first, the police just didn't believe her. He was too convincing.
The mask was just that good.
It was impenetrable to a casual glance. And the real danger for society is that we focus on these individual monsters, but we miss the systemic problem. The $5 trillion problem of white-collar crime goes almost completely under the radar.
Because the threat isn't a guy with a knife, it's a guy with a pen. It's not tangible.
It's not, it's diffuse. The damage is statistical, not bloody, so law enforcement invests fewer resources, and that's why the sources are so clear. The system is basically blind. The only people who catch it are journalists and, most importantly, whistleblowers.
The people inside who finally break rank.
The only ones who see behind the mask.
Okay, so we've covered the biology, the systems that reward it, the mental tricks they use, and why the mask works so well. What's the final takeaway here? The synthesis.
I think the core insight is that the danger isn't just that some people lack empathy. The real problem is that our modern systems, the ones that value results above all else, are actively selecting for emotional detachment.
We're creating a system where power becomes disconnected from any sense of ethical responsibility.
We are. And in a way, the psychopathic profile just holds a mirror up to our own values.
It shows us the cost, the price we pay when ruthlessness is mistaken for competence.
When we incentivize profit over everything, we create the perfect environment for people who are experts at minimizing harm and treating other human beings as commodities.
And that leads us to the final question we want to leave you with. Given how successful these individuals are, people who excel at manipulation and rationalization, the real question isn't just, how do we spot the psychopaths?
No, it's bigger than that.
Join us. What specific behaviors are we promoting in our own companies, in our own political structures? And what are the long-term consequences of consistently rewarding ruthlessness over empathy?